I want to go on to US politics now, and the US President Joe Biden continues to surprise us on the downside. In a private meeting with American Muslim leaders a couple of weeks after the horrific October 7 Hamas attacks in Israel, apparently the president apologised for comments he'd made the previous day. Comments that were sceptical about the casualty figures coming out of Gaza, the Hamas-controlled Palestinian territory. But surely we all need to be sceptical about these numbers. Remember when they said Israel had blown up a hospital and killed 500 people? Turns out it was a misfired Islamic Jihad missile. Only the hospital car park was hit, and the death toll was a tiny fraction of that figure. Keeping all that in mind, here's what the president had said back in October.
I have no notion that Palestinians are telling the truth about how many people are killed. I'm sure innocents have been killed, and it's the price of waging a war.
He just said you can't trust the numbers coming out of Gaza. There's nothing wrong with that statement. And as I said to US commentator Kristin Tate, there was no need for an apology.
This is just pathetic. But look, Biden has gotten himself into a bit of a pickle, politically speaking, because he needs to appeal to the more moderate Democrats who tend to be pro-Israel. But the radical progressives in his party are the ones sucking up all the oxygen in the room. And those are the folks who are more pro-Hamas. So he's been a little bit wishy-washy on this issue. And the pro-Hamas sentiment has really taken hold with the young, woke progressives. And he needs to keep those people motivated and mobilized ahead of the election. I saw that only 40% of young Americans have a negative view of Hamas, according to one poll. That's why we see all these protesters at college campuses around the country in support of Hamas. A couple weeks back, we saw this woman at Columbia who was attacked by a pro-Hamas protester with a weapon. They're all chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And keep in mind, these are campuses, Chris, where the students will scream to high heaven and claim that you're committing violence against them if you use the wrong pronouns. But now when it comes to supporting Hamas and those protesters, they're hiding behind free speech. It's pathetic.
Yeah, it's just shocking to see. And the president's leading this of course, apologising for making the very reasonable point that you can't trust the numbers about casualties and deaths that come from Hamas. Yet this is apparently what he said in this private meeting. According to the Washington Post, Biden met with 5 Muslim American leaders the day after he made those remarks we just showed you last month. And he said, "I'm sorry. I'm disappointed in myself." Well, that is just ridiculous. You've got to stand up for the facts here, and you can't trust anything that comes from Hamas, a bloodthirsty Islamist extremist organisation. But have a look at this from The View. This is the problem people have with the media and in popular culture about this issue.
It's unfortunate that people have taken such sides here, because this is something that has been going on for decades.
Unfortunate that people are picking sides, Kristin. It's Hamas versus Israel. It's Israel versus a violent, horrific terrorist organisation. But they always try and make it about the broader Palestinian issue.
Of course, the equivocation is just disgusting, but this is what the media does. You have outlets like MSNBC and the New York Times who, for a while after the initial attack, refused to even refer to the militants as terrorists, which they were terrorists. It is just, all over the U.S. media, this pro-Hamas propaganda, essentially. And that's why so many people in this country who are not, really plugged in politically, just sort of average voters, if you go out and you ask them questions about this conflict, a lot of them don't really know where they stand, because they're getting all of this equivocation from the media and mixed messages from our own president. It's really disgraceful.
It is. Let's get to the presidential race now very quickly, because we've got a shortened show tonight. I want to have a look at this headline, latest on the polling. It shows that for Trump, his best deputy, his best Veep running mate would be Nikki Haley. That's no surprise. But for Biden, it's anybody but the current Veep, Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I mean, Kamala Harris is just so unlikable. I saw a poll that 49% of voters have a negative view of her. I think that's an all-time low for a VP. Whenever Republicans point out how unlikable she is, Democrats call us racist, but Democrats don't like her either. She was a total dud in the
Exactly.
primary. She couldn't get the black vote. She couldn't get women to support her. I mean, she's just a total dud. And the Biden campaign is in big trouble because I don't think they can replace her, because then they'll be accused of racism.
Can't wait for next year, because he's going to pull out. He has to pull out, and they're going to have to find 2 new candidates. We shall see. Thanks for joining us again, Kristin.